Begin by settling your body in its natural state. You achieve the relaxed ease of this natural state by releasing tension wherever you find it in your body. So allow your attention to roam throughout the body, and wherever tension is found, let your breath be drawn to it, as if magnetically, and then release the tension on the exhalation. Let it leave your body into space. And as you continue to deepen your relaxation with each exhalation, breathing out tension, breathing out constriction, maintain the clarity that you began your meditation with. Don't give in to the habitual association of deep relaxation and drowsiness. And if your body is relaxed and you have settled into a comfortable position, your body should be content to remain still. And your posture should be erect so that your body feels alert. Prana is flowing without being impeded, without obscuration or obstruction. These are the three qualities of the body settled in its natural state: relaxed ease, stillness, and alert attention. And settle the speech in its natural state. Of effortless silence. It's as if the strings of a musical instrument have been cut. and settle the breath in its natural rhythm, allowing the body to breathe itself. Giving up all control of the breath, surrendering to the truth of what this breath is. And settle the mind in its natural state. Giving up all obsessive fantasies, compulsive memories, and just settle in present awareness. And with this present awareness, with intention, narrow the scope of your selective, exclusive, and focused attention to only tactile sensations. Thoughts and sounds will continue to arise in awareness. Just let them. Let them arise in peripheral awareness without them capturing your attention, which is given fully to tactile sensations. And now with intention, narrow the scope of your attention once again, only to tactile sensations that change as the breath enters and leaves your body, wherever you experience those in the body. And now, with intention again, give a target to your attention and focus only on those tactile sensations of the breath at the abdomen. Feel the expansion and contraction, the movement of the abdomen in and out, rising and falling if you're in Engage these sensations with bare attention, unelaborated by conceptual knowing, not visualizing your body and these sensations occurring on a mental map of your body. But feel these sensations nakedly, as if they were occurring in space. And now, with intention, shift your target to the tactile sensations of the breath at the nostrils. Wherever you feel these sensations most, right at the nostrils, let that be your target. That may be right at the rim of the nostrils, or for some people, the upper lip. Let your attention remain stable there, like a gatekeeper, not moving with the breath, but just watching the breath pass in and out. The key to stability is the exhalation. Release distraction, release agitated energy on the exhalation into space. Follow the full course of the exhalation, from the beginning through the middle to the end, and remain fully engaged with these sensations right through the pause at the end of the exhalation. And then let the weight of the atmosphere fill your lungs again without effort. with a playful attitude, experiment with recalling your intention and reaffirming your intention in the pause right at the very beginning of the exhalation. And your intention, in many words, is to remain continuously engaged with the sensations of the exhalation all the way through the full course. But let your intention be wordless and instant. Simply recall it. And then know that you have made it to the pause at the end of the exhalation. Inevitably, your mind will go wandering. As soon as you discover that, let your reflex be first to release your grasp on the distracting object. Secondly, to rejoice, I am lucid again. Third, to return to your chosen object, the sensations of the breath at the nostrils. And then to relax ever more deeply, all the way through the full course of the exhalation, with intention. Good advice from the masters say that your attention should only go where it is intended, where it is sent by your conscious intention. So if there are sounds, for instance, that intrude upon your attention and that draw it away, simply make that your temporary intention to focus on that sound, so that your attention isn't distracted, but it is going where it is intended. And then the silence returns, and return your intention to tactile sensations of the breath. Remain continuously engaged with these sensations through the full course of the exhalation, and feel the invigoration of this engagement on the inhalation. Well, this session this evening is longer than most of our evening sessions will be. So I wanted to fit in this instruction this evening, and this was really the only time that there was to do it so that we can get on to awareness practices tomorrow. So if you are still feeling okay and alert and have time for a few questions, there were a few questions in the box.
One was about the sights.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first one is a question about the gaze when your eyes are open. Is that right? I'll talk more about the advantages of meditating with your eyes open later. But the important point, so I have just always meditated with my eyes open because that is the advice of the Lam Rim. And so as my first guide, I just naturally began that way. And so there was never a transition from trying to meditate with my eyes closed to meditating with my eyes open. But there are a number of advantages that I'll talk about later. But first of all, the question was, where does your gaze go, or where does your gaze land when you're meditating with your eyes open? And so basically your gaze is directed downwards in Shamata practice. And one useful method that the Lam Rim and Mahamudra masters also agree on is that something like 4 finger widths out in front of your nose, that your gaze then is directed about at that point. So sometimes you see texts that say at the tip of the nose, but that induces eye strain for me and leaves my eyes crossed. So 4 finger widths out. And what you will notice then, for me that's about somewhere close to 3 meters out on the floor from where I'm sitting. Somewhere probably between 2.5 and 3 meters. And one of the advantages, and so your gaze doesn't actually land on the floor, on an object at 3 meters out there. But that is just the direction of your gaze. And basically, your gaze is unfocused. And it just dissolves into space, basically. So you're not actually filling your visual consciousness with an object. But your eyes are just open, and visual consciousness just kind of becomes irrelevant. It disappears. And that is true only if there's no movement in your peripheral vision. Because we are just trained, if there's movement in peripheral vision, we shift our attention to it. What is that? Is that a threat? And so that is one of the reasons that it is so important when we are meditating in a group for everyone to remain still throughout the full meditation. So a lot of people still, I think, are getting tuned up, a lot of scratching going on, a lot of stretching the neck. All of that is very distracting to people around you because their eyes are open. It wouldn't be such an issue if people were meditating with their eyes closed. But with eyes open, any movement is a distraction. And so just to continue the footnote, it's very beneficial, especially when we get to Vipassana practice, to just sit with the impulse to move and not give in to it, to just observe the impulse, especially an itch. That is a powerful, powerful practice. To just recognize the impulse to scratch an itch, because it feels like if you don't give in to that impulse immediately, that it's going to be with you for the rest of the night. And so just observe whether that's true or not by not scratching it and seeing how long does it last, how long does the impulse last. So powerful stillness, powerful meditation to remain still. But your gaze then lands just, it just dissolves into space. And then one of the advantages of meditating with your eyes open is that you can use your gaze as an antidote to laxity and excitation. So if you're feeling lax, and this is so simple, but it is so effective that it startles people who are even long-term meditators but have never really employed this advice. And then when I keep emphasizing it, they try it, and they say, that was dramatic, the improvement. So if you're feeling lax, if you're feeling dull, elevate your gaze, and it doesn't take much. So just elevate your gaze, and you will notice instantly an increase in energy, an increase in invigoration. And conversely, if you are feeling excitation, lower your gaze. And again, it doesn't take much. These are subtle adjustments. And you can do this also while you are in Shavasana. And I think there's a tendency when you're in Shavasana to look straight up at the ceiling. And this probably is promoting excitation. So it's the same plane. I think what is important is the position of the eyeball in the socket. So if you're lying on your back, again, just lower your eyes, your gaze to the point that would be about 4 finger widths in front of your nose. And so you can use that gaze even while you're in Shavasana as antidotes to excitation and to laxity.
So one was because in the translation I didn't understand one word and it was mistaken. So that's why I corrected after during the...
Okay.
So what about the 6 freedoms and attributes to identify in the practice, as well as the 3 preliminaries to the practice?
The 6 freedoms?
Yes.
Yeah, so we haven't covered that. So, and that I would have to actually consult my great source of this basic Dharma reference book, that from the new book or series of books from His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Thupten Chodron. So so that's one that would go to the bottom of the pile because it's not related to anything that I've talked about. Yeah.
Sometimes, so the person is saying that he or she doesn't have any Buddhist background, and sometimes we speak about Dzogchen and Lamrim, and so it seems that this person is a bit lost.
Okay, well that's good to know. So thank you for that. Especially, oftentimes I'll say things just assuming everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, that isn't true. So how many people don't have any Buddhist background at all? And how many people wouldn't? And so the term Lam Rim doesn't mean anything to you. Are there other people that don't know what the term Lam Rim means? Okay. And Dzogchen we will go into in much more detail. So you don't have to worry about that right now. But just Lam Rim means stages of the path. And it is a particular genre of practices that was introduced by the great master Atisha, who was the abbot of either Nalanda or Vikramashila, and was implored to come to Tibet because, and to basically synthesize all of the teachings, because in Tibet at this time there were basically warring factions between different lineages of Tantra and Sutra, but there basically was no coherence in the presentation of Dharma. So Atisha went to Tibet and created something that is uniquely, was for Tibetans. So you don't find this in Indian Buddhism. You don't find a Lam Rim in Indian Buddhism. This was created specifically for Tibetans. And the genius of this stages of the path is that it is like a cookbook. I'm sure in France you have something like what in the United States is Joy of Cooking, which is basically an encyclopedia of cooking for everything from how you not only crack an egg, but how you choose an egg to buy, and then on, and then how you beat an egg, and how you make a souffle. But it is the entire stages of the path, all the way from how you choose a teacher and how you serve a teacher, all the way up to Shamata and Vipassana, and then the beginning, how you prepare for Tantra. So it is this tremendous synthesis of all of Buddhist practice into these stages of practice, what comes first and what comes later. And so you see the coherence of all of Buddha's practices, and it's really just a remarkable series of practices and documents. So the one that I mention is one that is in 3 volumes, and then there is one that is in one very thick volume. Then there is another. There are basically, I think it's 8 classic lamrims, and the ones that I'm most familiar with are the ones that of the great master Tsongkhapa, who is the founder of the Gelugpa lineage, of the 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhism. So, an extraordinary master. One of my teachers said that he was like the Shakespeare and Einstein of Tibet rolled into one. And so there's that one, and then there's this one that comes out of a series, 20-some days of teachings in Tibet in the 1920s, also of Pabanka Rinpoche. So those are the ones that are the stages of the path. But it's just a very, very elegant and magnificent compilation of all the practices into a single progression. Does that help? And thank you for that, and I'll try to keep that in mind, that not everyone understands all of the terms that I'll be using. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's it? Good. Well, thank you for your good questions, and I'm sure that as we progress, beginning maybe with tomorrow, there may be more questions, because all of this was maybe review for many of you, but it's fairly familiar territory. But where we're going tomorrow, we'll be getting into a distinctly Dzogchen approach to meditation. And Dzogchen just is, well, we'll get into that more later. And so tomorrow, when you wake up, you will be waking up to silence. And so please, no conversations. It's important, I think, that everyone just participate. And I know that most of you are looking forward to silence because it is such a support to retreat. And yeah, you'll notice a difference right away. And so tomorrow we wake up to silence. And then just to remind everyone of the basic schedule. So we have these periods of silent gatakas. And so there are 2 gatakas following the teaching on the schedule in the morning, and then 5 gatakas in the afternoon. And that first gataka after the teaching, because the teaching doesn't always end right on schedule. So the first gataka, I kind of have to, could be a short gataka, and then I'll tell you when basically the next session is going to begin, because it might be require 2 shorter gatakas to kind of get back on schedule. So those could be the oddball ones so I'll just tell you. But basically then, I just want to reemphasize that the sessions, other than those odd sessions right after the teaching, are going to start on the hour and the half hour. And so it's very important for everyone to be on time and to be in your seat and ready to meditate on the hour and the half hour. So, there's a lot of instruction and going on in the first, and I mentioned that, but there were a lot of things I know filling your head. So I just want to reinforce that now as we progress, that it's very important to remain still in meditation. And part of the strategy for that is to choose a position that is you know is going to be comfortable for the full 24 minutes. So if you choose a comfortable position, maintain stillness, and then be on time. So don't think that you're sneaking into the room 2 minutes late and that nobody is going to notice. Because it's very obvious, and even though you're on tiptoe, it's very obvious. So if you aren't able to get into the room and into your seat at the time that the bell sounds, so if the doors are closed and you look at your watch or you look at the clock outside and you see it's 1 minute or 2 minutes after, then just meditate, go ahead and do meditate, but choose some other place to meditate then. Don't come into the room. So you can do a walking meditation, you can meditate in your room, or you can meditate outside on one of the benches. So that as we progress, people are going to become, their approximation of samadhi is going to become closer and closer to samadhi. And we should just assume that people are in deep concentration, and that our disturbing them could be shocking them out of a very sublime state. And so another point about that is that as we progress through the retreat and people become more and more stable in their meditation, they may very likely choose not to take a break after that 24-minute session. So during that 6-minute break, as people are leaving the room, do so quietly and try not to disturb people if they are choosing to continue meditating. So all of that just becomes more and more important the deeper that we go into our practice. So thank you all for that. I know that that won't be a problem for you. So we can dedicate the merit. It is a great mass of merit that you have created today by your high motivation, your dedicated practice. And may this virtue ripen not as some temporary pleasure for yourself, but may this virtue ripen as the ultimate benefit for all sentient beings. By the goodness of what you have done today, may all sentient beings find a path, find teachers who can lead them on the path, and may all sentient beings reach the end of the path, the fruit of the path, and awaken fully to the enlightened state of a Buddha, all by the goodness of what you have done today. May it be so.